I had an epiphany, and I thought long and hard before making this video for whites only. And I guess I can make this video because I am a black person. I'm not white. So maybe I get a pass on this one. Maybe not. I don't really know, but I'm gonna make it anyway. So the first thing is, we live in a country that's divided by race, of course. Some of us like each other, some of us don't. Some of us are born disliking or hating each other simply because of the color of our skin, or in some cases, religious beliefs. But I want to ask these questions to my white American brothers and sisters. And, sometimes we don't really like to be open because we feel as though we're going to be criticized, or, we're not being politically correct, or there are going to be some other repercussions because of the way we feel and what we say. So, if you feel a little skimmish about what you're going to say, you think that maybe you're going to be embarrassed, or you're going to be found out, or your true feelings are going to be exposed, maybe you shouldn't comment. But if you want to be open and honest about how you really feel free to comment. But, you've heard the term of the black church, and then you heard the term of the white church. So my question is, do you think there's a white heaven and a black heaven? Do you think God is black or white, or he has no color? What about Jesus? Do you think Jesus was black, or is white, or he has no color? Or does it really make a difference? What if, and this is the next question, what if we could go back to the Jim Crow laws and Jim Crow era of separate but equal? Would you accept that in today's society? Would you say, okay, well, we're going to have a white water fountain and the black water fountain. We'll have a place where whites only live and where blacks only live. The separate but equal society. Would that be okay with you? And what if slavery was legal today, and you could own a slave? How much do you think a slave would cost? And where would you keep your slave? Could your slave own a gun or a knife? Would you trust your slave? What would be the responsibilities of your slave? Now, do you think that it would be okay to have an all-white sports team? Football, baseball, basketball, and all the players were white. The managers, everybody. No blacks or any other races of people. Would you be okay if America was all white, only whites? What would you do with the biracial children? And what would you do with the American Indians? Do you think America would be better if it were all white and no other races? Would you feel safer in America if it was all white? Would you end homeschooling? Would you then start sending your children to school because you feel it would be safer to do it now that the only kids there would be white? Would you lock your doors and lock your automobiles? Or would you feel free to just leave your doors unlocked? Leave your cars unlocked? Would you feel less stressful if America was only white? And would you ever use any of the following terms? Or do you think you would ever hear any of these following terms? Racist, white supremacy, or the N-word? Think about that for just a minute. If the country was just only white, and there were no other races of people, do you think America would be more prosperous? Do you think it would be more advanced? Or do you think there would be any improvement at all? Maybe you think that things would be the same. Would they? So, would you want to send all black people back to Africa, as they say? All Spanish people back to their native land, and all the Asians back to their native lands? If you could actually do that, how many of you would want to do that? Do you think that the American government would be better run if there were no other races other than whites? So overall, if you could get away with saying the N-word whenever you wanted, and there were no repercussions, there were no person to call you a racist or anything like that, and if you were, say, at a job and there were some black people who worked there, and you felt the need to use the N-word, and let's just say you're in a board meeting, right? And there was this one black person that was there, and you decided you were going to introduce everybody, and you say, here's Susan, she's head of marketing. Here's John, who's vice president of sales. And then here's Reginald, the black guy, and you say he's the HNIC, over service. I mean, is that something that you would feel okay about doing if you could get away with it? Or let's just say you're a union worker and you're having lunch, and you walk over to one of the guys and say, hey, Jim, what are you doing later after work? And they say, oh, we're going to go grab a few beers. And then you walk by a black guy and you say, hey, my N-word, you want to come join us and have a couple of beers? I mean, do you feel as though you could, if you could get away with that, do you feel as though you would be okay saying it? Or let's just say there's a white young lady, and she, she's dating a black guy, and she wants to give a description of, their night in bed. And she's talking to her girlfriends, and she says, girl, that N-word, he knows how to make love to me. I mean, if you could say it and get away with it, do you think it would be okay Or do you feel as though you would have some negative thought and negative feeling about it? And finally, what if AI, artificial intelligence, took over and had control of the American government and the American military? Would you have any fear of that? Do you think they would think you're not as smart as them? And because you're human, you're less than they are. And what if they decided that they wanted to make you their slave? How would you feel about that? Just something to think about.